So this is an interesting question. I have been mulling over possible playoff scenarios. What will my predictions be? Should I put out a college football playoff prediction video? And, I just look at the preseason top 25 and I ask myself, how many teams can realistically win the national championship? Because right now, I think if you took Ohio State and Alabama versus the field, Ohio State and Alabama might be the favorite in terms of who's going to win the national title. Ohio State and Alabama versus the 129 other FBS teams. It's so interesting because Alabama returns a Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback, because Ohio State returns a Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback. Also, Georgia returns their quarterback as well, but I wanted to go through the top 25 and give you guys my thoughts on who I think could still win could realistically win the national title. And again, this is my opinion, just being realistic about it based on what we've seen in the college football playoff era. Obviously, number one, Alabama can definitely win the national title. Some people think Alabama has like a 50% chance to win the national title. Obviously, number two, Ohio State can win the national title. Even if you hate Ohio State, they currently have the Heisman favorite, C.J. Stroud. He's plus 200 to win the award in front of Bryce Young. They're returning so many players on offense, and they should have a much improved defense utilizing the historic 2021 recruiting class, the 2 5-star defensive pass rushers. They've got a young true freshman, C.J. Hicks. They're going to be unbelievable. They can certainly win the national championship, and a lot of people expect them to. Number 3, Georgia. That's the third team that can definitely win the national title. Personally, I don't think they will, based on how they've recruited, though. Even the defensive losses, this is a team, they reload. They don't rebuild, and they do return Stetson Bennett. And no matter what you think of Stetson Bennett, he won the national title. He played great last year against Alabama, against Michigan. You have to give him credit for that. Number 4, Clemson. I do think it's a stretch, but I do think Clemson, based on their history, based on their defense, they can win the national title. Much of it comes down to quarterback play. They had some of the worst QB play last year. We will see with DJ Uiagalelei, but I've got 4 teams that can win the national title. And after those 4 teams, you can try and make an argument, but realistically, Notre Dame, who has 3 ridiculously tough games, pretty much if Notre Dame loses 1 game due to them not being in a conference, they're not making the playoffs if they lose 1 game because they don't have a conference championship. So they have week 1 at Ohio State. They might be eliminated from the... Now, I wouldn't say that. I think if Notre Dame loses week 1 and then wins out, they probably do actually make the playoffs. But I think that's extremely far-fetched, starting an inexperienced quarterback. You've got a young team. You're facing Clemson in the middle of the season. You've got a road game at USC, a rivalry game to end the season. It's a very tough schedule. I don't see any path Notre Dame this year. This is just me being honest, to a national title. And I was a little bit surprised they were ranked 5th. I thought they would be ranked 7th. Not that it's a big difference, but so far I've still got 4 teams that can win the national title. A&M, they're too young. A&M is a real enigma. I think they way overrated A&M because it is a unique situation. I was just thinking about this. We've never seen a talent influx like we're seeing with Texas A&M, and it's due to NIL booster cheating. But still, it is unique where they go from getting like 1 5-star a year to getting 8 5-stars in one class, including 3 5-star defensive linemen. So it is a crazy talent influx. The issue is those kids are all true freshmen. True freshmen normally tend to not make the biggest impact. There are exceptions, but they also have quarterback questions. I don't see a chance A&M has at winning a national. They would need their true freshmen to just be out of their minds. Like, it's just such a far scenario to me. I don't see. They have the talent, but the talent isn't old enough. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Utah, there's no way. Like, to me, Cam Rising is not dynamic enough. They don't have the overall talent to beat an Ohio State, to beat an Alabama. You can say last year they almost beat Ohio State, but Ohio State had a disastrous defense. And they were starting a lot of inexperienced guys due to players sitting out, things like that. I don't see any way. I think the talent gap is too big with Utah. They could certainly make the playoffs, and it would be great for college football if they did make the playoffs. I think the talent gap is too big. Number 8, Michigan. Could they win the national title? I don't think so, guys. I think maybe you could say like a 0.1% chance if J.J. McCarthy is like crazy. But even still, Michigan had a way more talented defense last year. They lost Daxton Hill. They lost Aiden Hutchinson. And remember, last year, they got annihilated in the semifinal game. So they didn't even, and now they have to go to Columbus and face Ohio State. So I see basically no way Michigan can win the title this year. Oklahoma is an interesting one. I think a ton has to go right. We'll see how Dylan Gabriel is off of his injury. They're a team that definitely has a high floor, but I also think in turn they might have a low ceiling. Like Oklahoma making the playoffs, I could see them making the playoffs, beating Alabama and or Ohio State. I think it's tough. So I would still say 4 teams right now. Baylor, no. They're just not talented enough. Oregon is interesting. I would say no. I don't think Bo Nix is talented enough, but they are interesting. Oklahoma State, no chance. NC State, no chance. They're just not talented enough. I know some people are picking NC State to make the playoffs, but because the ACC, things like that, can they beat Clemson on the road? It'll be interesting, but I don't see any way they win the national title. Next, we've got USC. You know, it is Lincoln Riley's first year. Can Lincoln Riley go to USC in year 1 and do something he couldn't do at all, at Oklahoma and win a playoff game, even one playoff game? Year 1, I don't see it. Michigan State, no chance. Miami, I like Miami a lot. I think they lack wide receiver playmakers. Pittsburgh, no chance. I don't think Pittsburgh finishes ranked. Wisconsin, I don't see it. They've got a very tough crossover at Ohio State. Arkansas, it's not going to happen in the SEC. Kentucky, it's not happening. Ole Miss, Ole Miss is a high upside team. You're in the SEC West. It's miserable. You're going to lose 3 games. Wake Forest, they don't even have a quarterback right now. Cincinnati, no way. Houston, is there a way that Houston might actually go 12-0? I think Houston does have an outside shot at going 12-0. I would have to look at their schedule again. I think one of my bold predictions on Houston was they would go 11-1. And guys, it's mainly due to the American being wide open with Cincinnati in a full rebuild. And you've also got UCF who just lost their quarterback, Dylan Gabriel. So also, the other thing is Houston returns their quarterback who threw 30 touchdowns last year. They return a superstar wide receiver as well. There's a path for Houston to at least get 11 wins, maybe even go undefeated. I would have to look at their schedule, though. And then BYU, the independent, they actually have a pretty tough schedule as an independent. I obviously don't think they can win the national title, guys. So when it comes to winning the national title, I think you're looking at like 4 teams at this point that can win the national title. And the main reason is due to that Alabama and Ohio State death grip. Ohio State and Alabama both returning their quarterbacks. Next year, to me, it's going to be completely different. There's going to be a lot more question marks. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud off to the NFL. That's where a team like A&M comes into play, in my opinion, and really can make some noise. But this year, with the current way college football is aligned overall, I think we're just going to see such a lack of parity. And this is why we need the 12-team playoff. You need to make things harder. You need to expand it, give more teams chances. Like with the 12-team playoff at your team like Utah, it's so fun because you're probably making the playoff, and it'd be amazing to see that. But it's just not installed right now. And we've got the AP All-American preseason teams that were announced earlier today. No surprises with Bryce Young being the QB. Maybe a little bit of a surprise with Trevion over Deuce Vaughn. But the running backs, Bijan and Trevion Henderson. Peter Saransky, really talented offensive tackle. And Paris Johnson Jr., preseason first-team All-American. That reminds me of DJ Uiagalelei being like a second team. Was DJ Uiagalelei a second team All-American last year just based off recruiting? That's it. That's the only reason why Paris is there. But I hope he lives up to it. Caleb Chandler, an offensive guard from Louisville. Shout out. I haven't heard of him. Jarrett Patterson, he pretty much appears in every one of these. Brock Bowers is just crazy. Jordan Addison and JSN and Keyshawn Butte, the receivers. I would have Josh Downs over Keyshawn Butte. I understand it. I also love A.T. Perry. And then they have Deuce Vaughn. I guess that fits Deuce Vaughn better as the all-purpose back. And then the defensive team, Will McDonald IV. I've been hearing a lot about him. I really have. There's Jalen Carter, of course. There's Will Anderson. There's so many 5-star. Well, I wouldn't say so many, but there are quite a few 5-stars. They're getting more and more accurate with recruiting rankings. That's why, like, you know, finishing as a top 5 class is so important now in college football because these things are so accurate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 former 5-stars in this preseason All-American, you know, first team defense. Also, Jack Campbell should be a beast. The linebacker from Iowa. They have 2 really good linebackers. Jacobs is another one. And Riley Moss, a white cornerback. A rare white cornerback. You love to see something like that. And then this was interesting. Madden 23, top 10 players. I got to be honest, Madden seems to be very liberal with how they give out their 99s. Was Devontae Adams a 99? Is Myles Garrett I don't know. I mean, Aaron Donald being a 99, I can certainly understand. If you're going to give a 99 to anyone, I mean, Cooper Kupp, after the year he had, am I wrong? I mean, the dude literally every game had 170 yards, and they give it to Devontae. Was Devontae Adams better than Cooper Kupp last year? I don't know. Maybe he was. But Myles Garrett, I think Myles is getting a little bit overrated by people, honestly, at this point. He just doesn't seem like he has the same impact as some of these other pass rushers. Like, he'll always get a sack a game, but he doesn't really do much else. I know he's really good in the run game. At least PFF says he is. But 99, like, TJ Watt had like 40 sacks last year, man. I don't know about that. And then also Zach Martin being a 98. Zach Martin's a little old, man. Isn't that an aggressive ranking for him? So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting with those rankings. It is what it is. But guys, I just wanted to talk about the overall, trajectory of college football. And right now, I think there's probably only 4 teams that can win the national title. And I think if you put a gun to my head and you said Ohio State and Alabama versus the field, it's a no-brainer. And maybe I'll be proven wrong. And maybe I will be. Maybe we'll get that one year where a crazy upset in the playoff happens. But it's like, if you really, and said, this is real, you have to do something, you have to pick, I'm picking Ohio State and Alabama versus the 129 other FBS teams. It's not even a question. And it's due to I'm telling you guys, it's unique because Alabama returns a Heisman-level quarterback, Ohio State returns a Heisman-level quarterback. All of that experience coming back means that college football is going to be probably pretty boring, at least at the top this year. I'm just warning people, these 2 teams, you're looking at maybe both of them going undefeated, maybe one loss here or there, but everyone's projecting both these teams to make the playoffs, and normally with college football, that's normally how it goes. So we will see, guys, but that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.